A woman drives 300 miles to meet the man who destroyed her life. She has a gun. She has a plan. But what happens next will shock you, because the real tragedy hasn't even begun. Before we dive into this absolutely insane story, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss how this ends. All right, let's get into it. Vanessa Pierce was 27 years old when her past finally caught up with her. She was living in Virginia, working hard, making a name for herself as a content creator. Before that, she'd served in the Coast Guard. She was strong, independent, a survivor. But there was something Vanessa couldn't survive, a memory that haunted her every single day. Back in high school, a classmate named Derek had allegedly assaulted her. It was traumatic, life-changing, the kind of thing that steals your peace forever. But for reasons only she understood, Vanessa never reported it. She thought maybe, just maybe, she could move on. 10 years passed, and she couldn't. In 2017, Vanessa finally worked up the courage. She walked into a police station and told them everything. She named Derek. She relived that night. She did the hardest thing she'd ever done. And the police told her there wasn't enough evidence to press charges. Vanessa was devastated, broken all over again. So she did what she'd always done. She tried to move forward. She started her content creation career. She got married, had kids, built a life. But in 2021, something happened that changed everything. She was scrolling through Facebook, and there it was, a friend's suggestion. Derek's face staring back at her. 15 years had passed, and this man was still in her life, still haunting her, still free. That's when Vanessa Pierce made a decision. If the law wouldn't give her justice, she'd take it herself. She clicked accept friend request, and she started planning his murder. Vanessa started messaging Derek, casual at first, friendly, like old classmates catching up. And you know what? They hit it off. Derek had no idea what was coming. To him, this was just a woman from his past reaching out, maybe even flirting a little. Then Vanessa made her move. She suggested they meet up, in person. She'd drive all the way to Ohio, 300 miles, to spend the night with him. Derek liked that idea. There was an implication, you know, they were going to hook up. So Vanessa rented an Airbnb near where he lived. She borrowed her husband's car. Yes, her husband's car. This woman had a whole family back home, but she was so consumed by what Derek had done to her that nothing else mattered. She drove those 300 miles, and Derek, he was out drinking with his coworkers, having a good time, no clue what was about to happen. Vanessa picked him up from the bar. His friends watched him leave with her, saw him get into that car. They spent the night at the Airbnb. The next morning they went hiking. There was a park nearby with a haunted cemetery. Sounded fun, right? They walked through the trails, laughing, talking, and then they reached a secluded spot. Derek's back was turned. Vanessa pulled out a pistol. She pointed it at the back of his head. And she pulled the trigger. Derek collapsed, dead, right there in that quiet forest. Vanessa walked away, got in the car, and drove all the way back to Virginia like nothing happened. A few days later, hikers found Derek's body. The police in Ohio started investigating immediately. They talked to Derek's coworkers, the ones who saw him leave with a woman, the ones who saw the car. They traced that car, and it led them straight to Vanessa's husband. The FBI got involved. They were building a case, getting closer. But they hadn't arrested anyone yet. And that's when things took a turn nobody saw coming. Derek's mother, Linda, was absolutely destroyed. Her son was gone, murdered, and nobody had been arrested yet. Now Linda either didn't know about the assault allegations from high school or she just didn't believe them. Either way, all she knew was that someone killed her boy, and they were still out there, walking free. So Linda decided to find the killer herself. She started her own investigation. And I mean, she became obsessed. This wasn't just a hobby. This was her entire life now. She chased every lead, studied every piece of evidence, over and over and over. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. Linda barely slept, barely ate. She looked at Derek's ex-girlfriends, anyone who might have had a grudge. And then she had a breakthrough. She was absolutely certain she'd found the killer. But here's the thing. The woman Linda identified, her name was Caitlin, and Caitlin had absolutely nothing to do with Derek. She was a random woman living in Washington, D.C., completely innocent. We still don't know why Linda thought it was her. But Linda was convinced, 100% sure. And instead of taking her evidence to the police, Linda decided to handle it herself. She bought a brown vest and a brown baseball cap, UPS driver disguise. Then she convinced her husband to drive her to Washington, D.C. They pulled up to Caitlin's house. Linda grabbed a box like she was delivering a package, except inside that box was a loaded pistol. She walked up to the door, rang the buzzer. Caitlin answered, and Linda pulled out that gun and shot her, twice, in the stomach. Then she ran back to the car and they sped away. Police responded immediately. They got a description of the car, and within minutes officers spotted it. They pulled Linda and her husband over. Linda knew it was over. She panicked, grabbed that same pistol. And right there, sitting next to her husband, she shot herself. Her husband was arrested. He eventually took a plea deal and got 3.5 years in prison. But here's the tragedy that makes this whole thing even worse. 1 month later, just 1 month, the FBI finally arrested Vanessa Pierce for Derek's murder. If Linda had just waited, if she'd just been patient, she would have seen the real killer brought to justice. Instead, she killed herself, traumatized her husband, and shot an innocent woman who had nothing to do with any of this. Oh, and Caitlin, she survived, but she'll carry those scars forever. Vanessa pleaded guilty to murder. She's awaiting sentencing. 2 families destroyed, 1 innocent woman shot, all because of revenge, all because pain turned into rage. And in the end, nobody won. Not Vanessa, not Linda, not Derek. Just tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy. If this story taught us anything, it's that revenge doesn't heal wounds, it just creates new ones. If you found this story as heartbreaking as I did, leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories that'll leave you speechless. I'll see you in the next one.